And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
Orange 25! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. What is it? Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go. Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane, would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. Keep red. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good early morning. You are taking a live look right now at Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, where for the first time in 15 days, SpaceX is getting ready to launch its Falcon 9 rocket. This, the return to flight after the previous launch out of Vandenberg in California had a second stage anomaly where the satellites were not deployed into an orbit that was able to be sustained. But tonight, we have 23 more Starlink satellites ready to go on this 10-9 return to flight mission. And I am Sawyer Rosenstein. I will be your host for this broadcast. And I am, of course, not alone. I have a fantastic team of talented people with me, including Mr. Ryan Weber. Ryan, how's it going?
It's going great, Sawyer. Yeah, just stepping in for a little bit. There might be someone else that comes in a little bit later here, but yeah, it's nice to see Falcon 9 back on the pad, ready to go. It felt weird, 2 weeks without launch. It was kind of weird. We got so used to it.
I know. I've missed saying that this isn't your ordinary Starlink launch, which it certainly isn't, as this is a return to flight mission. But it's probably got to be even weirder for our field team, who is so used to going out there and covering these launches. And tonight it is D Wise out for us there. D, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty weird to be back here. It has been a while compared to the very regular trips out here that I was making. But we had a static fire on Slick 40 recently, and now we're back out here for a launch from 39A. It's really exciting to see SpaceX returning to flight so soon after they had that anomaly.
Yep, 15 days is what it took from the anomaly. They then received their clearance from the FAA that no risk was given to anybody in the public during said anomaly, which means they're still obviously continuing to investigate it, but that does give them the go-ahead to continue flying, which is why we are flying tonight. A reminder, if you have any questions, you could tag us at NASA Spaceflight, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can. Of course, there is going to be a lot of questions about what happened, and we will get to that momentarily. First, though, D, do you mind just giving us a quick rundown of what mission we can expect for this return to flight?
I'm sorry, I lost you there for just a second. Let me adjust my internet, and I will be right back.
All right, Ryan, in the meantime, then, do you mind just giving us a quick rundown of the mission?
Yeah, this will be your run-of-the-mill Starlink mission. It's Starlink 10-9 carrying 23 Starlink satellites. It's booster 1069. This is 1069-17, by the way. This will be SpaceX's 73rd launch of the year, 4th launch of the month, which is weird. It's weird to say it's that low. Obviously, as we've talked about, it's the first since the failure 15 days ago. Their 86th launch from 39A, so SpaceX will continue to rack up the numbers, and hopefully this thing lands back on just read the instructions drone ship, and it has a successful flight. Not a repeat of what happened last time.
Right. And I think it's worth noting again that the first stage was completely successful on the previous flight. SpaceX and the FAA acknowledging that that first stage performed exactly as expected and landed successfully on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, out on the West Coast. Here tonight on the East Coast, they're still going for that first stage recovery. I don't know if we have D back yet or not. Do we have you back?
You sure do. I'm right here.
All right. What marine assets do we have out tonight?
Yeah, so we have just read the instructions downrange for the booster landing, and we also have Go Cosmos for the fairing recovery.
There you go. And this one continuing with the more recent trend of northeastern launches, so parallel along the east coast there. So if you're anywhere along that eastern seaboard, especially around areas, say, of the Carolinas, you should get a pretty good view of the first and especially the second stage if you have clear skies. So if you're anywhere along that southeastern part of the US, even probably towards the middle eastern part of the United States, definitely go outside and try and see if you can see it in about 53 minutes from now. So that is hopefully where we will have the booster land and the drone and the fairings. All right. So let's get into the nitty-gritty here. In terms of what happened, we know there was a problem with the second stage. Everything performed nominally as expected during the first stage. That's when, as we all clearly saw if you were watching, that there appeared to be and was a liquid oxygen leak developing within the insulation around the upper stage. It turns out it was a crack in a sense line, so basically a pressure sensor for the oxygen system. What they do is to check, it's kind of like inflating the air in the tires on your car, how you have that little thing that sticks out that you attach the tube to see what the tire pressure is. Kind of like that, where it actually runs through it, and that cracked. So as a result, we saw that liquid oxygen leak. They believe it was due to fatigue from high load of engine vibrations and looseness in the clamp. Admittedly, though, it completed that first burn exactly as expected, but then they went to ignite the second stage for a second time for the circularization burn, and it turns out the T-tab, which is used to help with the engine ignition, got way too cold, and you had a not so great engine ignition. So that was the end of stage 2, and that was what led to the anomaly investigation. Ryan, am I missing anything big there?
You're not really missing much. I will say this as a mechanic, as we had talked about on Flame Trench. Like the sense line, like I have seen that happen on aircraft engines too. Sometimes if something's not secured or if the engine gets a little bit high vibrations, which usually they're pretty stable, but things still fatigue, they still break. I've seen like a sense line on what's called the PRSOV valve, which is the pressure regulator and shutoff valve is the name for it on a CFM 56 engine. That sense line tells when the valve to open and close and whatnot. So that cracked and had an issue, and well, the valve didn't work much anymore, which means you could lose bleed pressure in that engine. Well, they had a crack in this one. The engine was still able to operate fine, but they had a leak, which caused them to lose a lot of their stuff. So, but yeah, it's nice to see it back, and I hope they really figured it all out. It's kind of interesting that they had kind of removed it all, but yeah.
Yeah, but again, they had to perform a comprehensive and thorough review, per their words, of all of the systems to make sure that everything was going well. They have actually changed the design now, where it turns out that SenseLine was just sort of redundant. It didn't really need to have it, so why have more parts when few parts do good? Oh no, that's words. But still, they ended up removing the part and using sensors that are already on board and those sensors work just fine. So they have already even tested that down at McGregor with the Merlin vacuum engines. A reminder, we do have a McGregor Live 24/7 feed where you can watch all the testing as it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's been kind of picking up quite a bit there the last couple days. We've seen boats going in and out and in and out, and now we've got 2 launches set to come up here.
Yeah, we sure do. So tonight's window goes until 4:21 a.m. Eastern time. Of course, they are targeting 1:45 a.m. though, and then tomorrow, I guess I can say tomorrow, Sunday morning, there is another launch scheduled. Trying to pull that one up with a very similar window from just after midnight until around 4 in the morning. Yeah, so 12:13 a.m. on Sunday until 4:13 a.m. There's another, of course, Starlink mission. So SpaceX is really getting back into their internal missions as they come back from this return to flight.
Right, and as you can see there from nextspaceflight.com, also available in the App Store, you've got the one tonight, you've got the one tomorrow, and then the return to flight out of Vandenberg as well, also scheduled for Sunday. So there is a lot happening. And that's not even counting all the crazy hardware and stuff that we're seeing down at Starbase, which they're doing as well. And I say that because Jack was supposed to join me on the stream, but happened to catch something really, really cool going on at Starbase. And I know that, Ryan, you need to go write about it for Starbase Update. So I'll let you go back to writing that,
Mm-hmm.
and we will welcome in Jack. Jack Beyer, are you with us?
Oh, I'm with you. All right, bear with me here. This is going to be a thing. So earlier today, we had that NSF live, Intrepid Museum show, and it was amazing. And one of the things that was said during the interview was that it takes a team to launch a rocket. Well, it takes a team here at NSF to do what we do. And so Ryan saw that there was a forward dome for a Starship at Starbase out in the open, a version 2 Starship forward dome. So, of course, I ran out there to shoot it. But, of course, I ran back here because Falcon 9 is returning to flight. So, thank you, Ryan, for the heads up there. And thanks for covering for me until I could get back. Hi, Sawyer. Hi, Dee.
Yeah, it's
Hi, Jack.
Yeah, so you're welcome, Jack. It's definitely worth it. I can't wait to write about it, and you guys everyone will get to see awesome pictures Jack takes as always. And I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Jack and Sawyer and Dee.
Yeah, I haven't even edited anything. Like, I literally ran in the door, sat down, put my headset on, and yeah, Falcon 9 is returning to flight. It's kind of a big deal.
Good. So, what's your answer to the last question?
Ask me it again. I don't see it. I don't see it in the ticker.
I'm joking. There wasn't one.
Well, I have been roasted.
Well, hopefully the actual Merlin 1D and Merlin vacuum engine will get toasty, but not toast too much. Because Kane and Copeland asking, did stage 2 blow up on ignition? And I think the term that they used is a hard start.
Yeah, it sounds like the engine had a bad time, but it didn't result in like a total RUD of the second stage. Remember, the second stage was able to still deploy the Starlinks, albeit not in the right orbit, and passivate itself, which is good. So yeah, it seemed like the second stage, I don't know if mostly intact is the right assessment, but probably just the engine had a bad day. And thankfully the design is robust enough that even when a Merlin vac does some things it's not supposed to do, let's say, the second stage is clearly able to continue on. So that's cool.
And for those who don't know the term passivate, that's basically what they do is after they finish that second burn and deploy the satellites, although again this one damaged the engine, kind of went out of control a bit, they vent all of the excess fuels, all the excess gases, anything else that they have on board. So essentially that it becomes a passive object, hence passivation. So that happens at the end of every Falcon mission regardless, and the fact that they had communication all the way through that and were able to get data all the way through that and actually perform it, is great. And in case you're wondering why they launch into that parking orbit first before they do the circularization, well, this is the exact reason why, in case something like this happens. So
Yeah,
they all deorbited.
it's precisely why they do this. And you know, that passivation is pretty cool. Like there's every now and then there'll be like a video from an airline pilot or like just a random bystander in a completely, rural area, like in a different country like Greenland or I don't know, wherever else. Every now and then one of them comes across my feed and it's like a weird crazy spiral of vapor in the sky. It's not unlike a jellyfish, but it's a completely different shape. And it's like, yep, that's a second stage passivating or a missile test gone really wrong. But yeah, it's cool that SpaceX is serious about not creating additional space debris and passivating and deorbiting all of their upper stages. That's very important right off the bat. And as an added bonus, sometimes we get cool things in the sky that people think are aliens. Not unlike a jellyfish.
I'm not saying it was aliens, but aliens.
Right.
Yeah. And again, it's all about getting rid of all of that debris to reduce debris in orbit. So that's a good thing, keeping space clean and not dropping stuff on people's houses.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about the future that we're going to exist in with multiple mega constellations of satellites. And Starlink is just the first, right? But the good thing is, at least with SpaceX and at least with Starlink, they're being good stewards to the extent that they can be. And they're deorbiting their stages. They're making the Starlink satellites themselves so that they completely burn up on reentry. And it's important. And not everybody that's going to put up a mega constellation is going to adhere to that. And as much shade as Starlink gets from certain communities, you have to recognize the good that it's doing and the good that SpaceX is doing while they do Starlink.
Exactly. Speaking of doing good, there's some people who have been so kind to us on the return to flight here, getting back to launch streams already, before the stream even started, so I want to thank everyone really quick here. Raina, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Adam, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. David, thank you as well for becoming a PadRat member. Aramil, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. And Musical Wolves, always good to see your name, saying, seems like a decade ago since the last launch. It's good to see a very reliable rocket launch again. That is what we're hoping for. And I believe someone pointed out, I'm not sure if the numbers are exactly correct, but that the last time that there was an anomaly, which was Amos 6, it took them 135 days to return to flight, as opposed to this one, which took 16. If it launches tonight. So that's pretty cool.
Remarkably fast.
See a little bit of looks like dew almost on the lens there. D, how's the weather looking right now?
Honestly, the weather is great. I'm on top of our hut, so I don't have any mosquitoes to deal with. There is a very slight breeze, and when I look up at the moon, there are some clouds, but it's really pretty pleasant out here. It's not overbearingly hot or anything like that, like we usually have to worry about in Florida. So I think it's a great night for a return to flight.
There you go. And you can see there a little bit on the cooler side for Florida. Not much breeze and 85% humidity. That seems low because Florida.
Yeah, woo. Can we get some of that 85% here in Starbase, please?
Seriously, you can take it as someone who's also in Florida, just south of the Space Coast. Yeah. Well, weather is one of the things that they do consider, of course, in their go no go polls at SpaceX, which we are at about the point where they should be conducting the go no go poll for fueling. It is not something that we are able to hear, and even if they did stream their launch audio loop, it's done silently anyway using buttons on their consoles. So hopefully that will get the all go. We should know for sure if there was a go or no go at about 38 minutes, and then at hopefully T-minus 35, we will start to see Falcon 9 getting frosty as they begin loading in the RP-1 and the liquid oxygen.
I think this is I don't know if weirdest is the right word. This is a very interesting return to flight. It's happened so fast after the failure that I almost have it almost hasn't even set it into my brain that Falcon 9 was grounded. It's just like, yep, another late night Starlink. This is normal. But no, this is a return to flight. This is really important, and I expect it to go completely well because it's Falcon 9. Of course, they've launched how many hundreds of these at this point, but still, I'm trying to remind myself like this is not your average Starlink.
Hey, that's my line. But yeah, so in all of our numbers, we'll have to say flights since Anomaly. Hopefully, we can start a brand new counter with 1 after this. We want these to succeed here, and then get it up to 3 by the end of the weekend, with the launch tomorrow out of 40, and then the other launch on Sunday out of Vandenberg.
But as you so importantly noted, the first stage performed well, so the successful landing counter will continue to count up, and they
Yay.
are at 256 since the last failed landing. So
Yeah, it's absolutely impressive. And this is still their 73rd launch of the year, and their 4th of the month, which feels very low because it kind of is. But that brings a question here from Booster 4, who asks, could SpaceX start Starlink RTLS missions in order to reach the 148 launch goal? D, I'll ask to you first. What do you think?
I mean, it's a trade-off there because they have to worry about their turnaround time on the pad, the marine assets, and also the impact of on the amount that they can carry into orbit. Because if they're using up more fuel to come back, they have to decrease the number of satellites. So then they need more launches to get the same number of satellites into orbit. And so even if they aren't necessarily reaching that launch number, it could still be more worthwhile for SpaceX to have a lower launch count and have more satellites up as a result.
Right. It's about the quantity of payload more so than the quantity of launches at this point.
Yep.
As much as it'd be nice to see 148.
Well,
Go ahead.
that immediately makes me wonder. I don't know. I don't know if they'll hit it. I want them to hit it.
Right.
I hope they can hit it. I don't know. Go ahead, Sawyer.
No, that's literally the exact point I was about to bring up, is that at this rate, I don't think they will, but that's not a bad thing. That's okay. As long as they launch successfully, that's really what we care about here. So I still think they're going to break 100. I feel like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. Like, if doing RTLSs means that they can hit the goal, like, what's more important? I don't know. D said it all.
Yeah. And then the other thing that's super important in terms of those number of launches is the fact that very much aided in this return to flight. And Ryan Weber was talking about that a bit before, but I want to reemphasize what he was saying, that when you have 300-ish launches under your belt, let's say 100 plus of this exact variant, of this exact configuration, you keep launching those, you get data upon data upon data of what's normal and what's quote-unquote in family. So if it's off by a couple of degrees, you've seen that on like 6 or 7 other missions out of 100, okay, it happens occasionally. If you get something like this that's so out of whack, it's whoa. How is this so out of family from the rest? And you can check all the tons of data that you have and then combine it and go, that's where it went wrong. From either X flight or Y flight, there's a difference.
Yeah, there's a term I learned on one of our Astra factory tours, but it's not a unique thing to Astra. Data lake. Like, all of these companies have massive data lakes or databases, whatever you want to call it. Data lake seems like a Silicon Valley kind of term, but you can compare everything against everything that you've done and everything that you know. And oh man, that amount of data and analysis that you can do with it is fascinating to me.
As long as it's a data lake and not a LOX lake, we're good.
Now I want a lox bagel.
Well, we have an update now from SpaceX. All systems are looking good. Weather is 85% favorable, and propellant load is about to begin for tonight's launch of 23 Starlink satellites from Florida. So they are going for it. They are go for fueling, it sounds like at this point, which should be underway right about now.
Let's go.
And that is thankfully a good sign. That means that they, again, like we said, they're going for it and they don't really have a choice at this point. If for any reason they have to stop once fueling begins, that's the end of the tries for the night. So we are targeting 1:45 a.m. Eastern then for this particular launch. It will begin, of course, with the RP-1 load, rocket propellant 1, refined form of kerosene, and the liquid oxygen into the first stage. Meanwhile, the second stage will just start with the RP-1, followed by the liquid oxygen at T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds, which we will kind of get an idea of during the LOX chill down, which is we call it the best vent. So these are the milestones that we've already hit so far. All of that leading up to that stage 2 LOX load beginning at T-minus 16 minutes. Engine chill at about T-minus 7 minutes, and then topping off the tanks at about 3 and 2 minutes before finally letting the onboard computers take control at T-minus 1 minute. Getting that go for launch at T-minus 45 seconds, and hopefully away we go.
Hopefully, indeed.
In case you've forgotten what the timeline is in the last 16 days, because it's been so long.
I mean, 16 days without a Falcon 9 launch. It just felt wrong, right?
Even weirder, there was only one global launch in the entirety of those 16 days, and it was a Chinese launch.
That just ain't right. Like, it's a small glimpse into the timeline that is possible where SpaceX does not exist. I mean, I don't even want to think about it.
No, definitely not. My gosh, while we were getting that update, there has been a gifting train. The train barreling down the tracks here. RC Horseman, thank you for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Apocalypse Cow, thank you for gifting 5. Astro Knucklehead, thank you for gifting 5. Sheriff Tracy, thank you for gifting 5. Daniel Hogman, thank you for gifting 5. Holy cow, it keeps going. Joe Howard, thank you for gifting 5. Moldy Space, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Flippers79 Flip Diaz, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. And Booster 1058, thank you as well for gifting a Red Team membership.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Wow.
Outstanding. There was also, I mean, our viewers are the best. Our members are the best. Earlier today, there was a crazy gift chain on Starbase Live. I was like checking out what was going on and looked at chat, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, you guys are the best. Thank you.
Seriously, that's why we're able to roll out for these crazy hour launches, all while still running around Starbase getting some epic shots of some cool hardware, all while, DOS is out doing his craziness at the Intrepid for the awesome museum show earlier. All of this is because of you, so thank you. And the least we can do is, for those members, try and give you some cool perks. So hopefully enjoy the behind-the-scenes videos on YouTube and some of the pictures that our Starbase and other teams take.
Yeah, today we did the flame. We published the Flame Trench. We had, we published TWIS. We had the Flame Trench stream, including a S30 static fire, and we had the Intrepid show, and we're doing this. Oh, by the way, all while we also operate Starbase Live and McGregor Live and Space Coast Live. So, thank you all. It's really cool that we get to do this.
Oh yeah, D, this just in. We're heading to you for a Frost update. How are we doing?
I see Frost. Yeah, so at the bottom of the booster, you can see where that soot is getting covered up with a little bit of ice. And so there's that sort of white ring that will slowly grow as the cool propellants make their way into the rocket.
There we go. Yeah, and this is the booster's 17th flight, hence why the booster is as sooty as it is, a reminder. So, let's see here. Let's take some more of your questions. A reminder at NASA Spaceflight, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can.
Yay, questions.
Here's a good one. Which one will launch first? William wants to know. Crew 9 or Polaris?
Oh, didn't they cover that in the
They-
presser today?
They did today. Crew 9 goes first. And
Well, there you have it.
Right. What will happen is, because you have Starliner still up there currently, you have Crew 8 still up there currently, as we have our zoom enhance view there.
Ooh.
Enhance. Enhance 2. So they have the both of those up there. I know this isn't related to Polaris Dawn because they're not going to the ISS, but trust me, it still is. One of those vehicles will have to undock for Crew 9 to launch, and it's very likely that they're expecting Starliner to be the next one to come back down. So that will come back down, and then Crew 9 will go up, currently targeting August 18th at the earliest. Again, that could delay a little bit out of 39A. The problem you have then there as well is that Polaris Dawn was moved from pad 40 to pad 39A as well. And there is that turnaround time at the launch pad at 39A. It's not as fast as it is over at 40, especially when you're dealing with 2 crew flights. So that is now considered late summer. So I guess they're saying either end of August or early September. So boo. Let's see here. Here's Scott Grizz asking, can you go into more what they did to prevent the issue after that last launch? Do you have some of those deets, Jack?
Yeah, I think they. Well, one of the things they did was check the entire fleet, right, and make sure all the clamps were good. They said they're going to remove that line on future vehicles. Those are the two that I remember. Although I've been running around Starbase all day today, so I might have missed something in the scrum. What am I missing, Sawyer, or is that it?
No, that's pretty much it. Is that it turns out the part that they were using, the sense line, it makes no sense because they have other sensors that already sense that. So, sorry, I had to throw my pun in for the night.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it must have just been some vestigial thing that, from earlier versions or blocks of Falcon 9, and it just happens to still be there, which is ironic because, we all know the mantra, the best part is no part, at least as it goes for Starship. Falcon 9, you got to remember, is a crew-rated vehicle. And so at a certain point, when you have the design gelled and solidified, or whatever word you want to use, you're not going to change it. So it is kind of silly that an extra, superfluous part is what ended up causing this here, but so it goes sometimes.
Yeah, so it goes, unfortunately. But, it's not necessarily the worst thing to go back and look at your design and find, hey, we can actually remove parts out of it. That's kind of an okay thing. And also, what Ryan was saying earlier before you got on, Jack, as he works as a mechanic on airplanes, they have sense valves and they crack and leak often. It's just a little bit more extreme when you're in the vacuum of space and you're talking liquid oxygen at super cooled temperatures.
Right. I do wonder, like, if that line had cracked in a different way or at a different place, if it would not have cooled down what was it, the T-Teb lines?
Yep.
And thus, would have been an issue. Maybe the second stage wouldn't have been able to complete the full burn, but it wouldn't have had a hard start on the engine. I don't know. I'm super curious, the nitty gritty details that we'll never get. But yeah, go figure. Wait, Ryan is an aircraft mechanic? No, I've never heard him talk about that.
No, Ryan W. never mentions that ever.
Love you, Webby.
Oh boy. But yeah, let's continue along after that. Here's a good question from Matthew McComas, and D, I'll put this one over to you. They're asking, what about needing to turn 39A over to Falcon Heavy for the Clipper launch? Does Polaris get delayed until 40 is ready at the end of September? How's that timeline looking?
That's a good question. So, of course, we've had the Falcon Heavy out here recently, and we know that it takes some time to reconfigure. Um, we don't really have a solid answer there on when Polaris Dawn will end up being, but as of now, it seems like it will be before Clipper, and we'll just have to wait and see until we get more information from SpaceX, honestly.
So Polaris Dawn was supposed to go from 39A, right? What if they just switched to 40?
Well, it was supposed to go from 40, but then they moved it to 39A because 40 isn't fully certified and ready yet.
Got it.
It's close. They were in an update today. NASA officials were saying that, and SpaceX officials, that Pad 40 is close to being certified to launch Crew, but obviously they tested the escape system with those giant tunnel slides, which look epic. But
I
beyond
still want
that,
to ride. I still want
I
to ride
know.
those.
I know, but beyond that, there's still other little things that need to be finalized. Until then, it's 39A only for SpaceX Crew.
Got it.
Here's a familiar name that I saw in chat that I do just want to call out. A Dr. Holly saying hello from Lexington, Kentucky. I'm at another Chem Teachers Conference presenting a session about all the cool things that NSF does and how they can use NSF in their classrooms. Well, that's
Hi,
really
Dr.
cool.
Holly.
Thank you. Yes, we love you, Dr. Holly. Thank you so much for all of your outreach work that you do to students to get them interested in all of these subjects. It's awesome.
And Moldy Space in chat bringing up something that I don't know if we've hit on already. Forgive me. Again, shooting in Starbase, but yeah, the failure, as we're talking about crewed launches, the failure that happened on Starlink was because the second stage had to relight its engine, and that's not something that happens on crewed missions. So if you're hearing us talk about Crew and you're thinking, oh, but this is a return to flight failure, etc., that's like, don't stress. Doesn't happen on crewed missions.
However, NASA was still deeply involved with the investigation process, given that Crew does fly on Falcon 9, and they do use a second stage, even if they don't do that second ignition.
And as they should. I mean, you want to see NASA doing its due diligence because we unfortunately know what happens when they don't.
Yeah, which this is actually the second return to flight of this time period. It was on July 26th that STS-114 flew Space Shuttle Discovery on its return to flight following the Columbia disaster 2 years prior to that. So a bit somber, but just worth noting, another return to flight happening. That was out of 39B, this one out of 39A tonight. Also, Space Wolf asking, could it be a golden pin in the engine? Oh, that's a good reference.
I see what you did there.
If you don't get that reference, you should totally check out the video that we just put out this week about some of the issues that the space shuttle had that you might not know about. So definitely check out our shuttle near misses video up on our YouTube channel. Bookmark that for later.
That was an interesting one to record, and I'm glad we did it. Like, sometimes we make videos because we think, the video will have an audience and it'll be a good addition to our content. Sometimes we make a video just because we think it should exist. And I don't think the shuttle video is going to do like gangbusters or anything, but you know what? It should exist. It's a good video. So if you haven't seen it, if you haven't checked it out, if you don't know anything about shuttle especially, check it out. It's a really interesting one, and I had a lot of really great comments from various friends, like message me or DM me and say, hey man, I had no idea about any of this. So that's really neat.
It was fun to write as well. So Jack did the recording, I did the writing, and a lot of the content came from the L2 forums that we have. But some of the content that we're about to see right now will be coming out of the TE on your screen as we hit the T-minus 20 minute, 20 second vent right on time. Boom. You wouldn't know it's been 16 days since we did this.
Bingo. And I have to underscore the fact that returning to flight 16 days after an anomaly is absurdly fast. Like, we're lamenting that it was 16 days and talking about how it felt like forever. That's only because of Falcon 9's insanely high cadence and insanely high flight rate. It's just underscores how much SpaceX has changed the game, that 16 days feels like a long time.
Well, Dee, can you kind of explain this crazy rate of venting that we're seeing on the screen as this T minus 20 minute, 20-second vent occurs?
Yeah, so basically they have to cool down the lines to prepare to fuel the second stage so that they're not putting in the liquid oxygen and everything with hot lines, because, of course, that would vaporize it very, very quickly. So they're cooling down the lines ahead of propellant load.
There we go. And once that stops, which should be in about T minus 16 minutes, that indicates that that liquid oxygen load onto the second stage will have begun loading. Again, a critical milestone, especially everyone keeping in mind with liquid oxygen lines on that second stage after the previous flight. Um, Here's an interesting question, and I don't know if we actually have an answer to this. But James is asking, what was the purpose of the Falcon static fire that they did the other day if the issue wasn't with the booster? Any thoughts?
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, there are a bunch of reasons we could speculate, because, like, a while back, we saw the flight that had the T0 abort. We don't have details on what happened there. Maybe if they had to do engine swaps or something like that, it could. They might have wanted to fire those engines, but we really have no info there on their reasoning for that static fire.
True. And then there was also questions originally of which pad was going to be used first for the return to flight. Was it going to be 39A and the 10-9 mission, which we know is what they went with because you're here watching it, or 10-4 out of 40? So who knows? Maybe they were just testing all the ground systems because they haven't been used in 20 days or whatever the case is. Don't
Yeah.
actually know. Um, I mean, they did note, Alex pointing out in the back channel, that they did check everything. They check all clamps, not just on the second stage, but first stage, on capsules, things like that. So, in a thorough investigation like this, I guess you look at every part of that rocket. I do need to point this out from Musical Wolves, who asks, is Jake watching this launch and purr at launch? Hopefully the rocket goes burr, Jake goes purr, and yeah. I don't know where he is at the moment. Probably sleeping on my bed.
He's looking for the brain cell.
And then Thomas Marshall with the $20 tip from tips.nasaspaceflight.com saying, thanks for the awesome streams. We're watching spaceflight become common, and I'm loving every second of it. You are absolutely not alone. We are all loving every second of this. That's why it felt so weird not having these launches, and it almost feels like I'm a bit rusty at the whole hosting a launch thing for some reason, even though, again, a couple weeks. Hopefully I don't come across as rusty, just crusty.
No. Well, crusty, yes. Rusty, no.
Let's see.
I mean,
20 minute vent?
you're over 30 now. Like, crusty
Yeah.
by definition.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I know it, and I feel it. Here's an interesting question. 20-minute vent wondering, would the statement and investigation be different if the booster had an anomaly? Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I think almost certainly. I don't know that I could say in what ways, But yeah, depending on what the failure is and how it fails, if Falcon 9 has a pad fallback, you're going to see a very different statement and a very different investigation.
Yeah, and I think the key thing in all of this, it's the same exact thing with the Starship investigations that they've done, and the same thing that they noted here, is that they basically said that they determined there was no danger to the public. If there's anything that could have been a danger to public safety, exploding rocket parts flying over places, if it were to happen where it would then re enter and burn up pieces on people's houses, it would be a different story. The fact that it re entered, all burnt up, and anything that didn't would have gone into the ocean anyway meant that there was no issues with public safety, which is why we're able to get back to flight so quick. Because again, the investigation is not completely closed and done. This is just they've determined that while they're doing this to see if any changes need to be made, they're allowed to continue flying, if I understand that correctly. Let's see. We've got Dr. Isbane asking if they removed part of the vacuum Merlin engine, do they also remove it from the sea level engines, the 1Ds, as the static fire? I don't think they would. Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong here. I in my head, the sense line is something that is particular to the upper stage. Like, of course, there will be similar things on the first stage, but yeah, I wouldn't see why that they would remove those. I'm sure they checked everything, like that was part of the statement that that SpaceX put out. They've verified that all the hardware in the fleet is good and everything that needs to be clamped down is clamped down properly. So yeah, I don't think so. Although interesting theory.
Very. Yeah, it's a good question. Again, I'm sure they looked at them, but don't know if they did anything specifically. Now, here's a good question, and this I think will lead into an interesting topic that I want to bring up while we have some time. D. Stacy Dickinson is asking, what does the phrase JRTI, or as I like to call it, JERTY, come from?
Just read the instructions.
Fine, I will. I thought you would just tell me.
Oh, that was such a bad joke, but I'm here for it.
I'm going to leave that one to you.
Yeah, that is part of the SpaceX recovery fleet, which, as of now, remains on the East Coast. However, parts of said SpaceX Ocean Fleet is now set to move to the West Coast. I know we haven't really talked about this much yet, but SpaceX and NASA confirming that all of the Dragon capsule returns are now set to splash down in the Pacific Ocean near California as opposed to their current location, which is off of Florida, either on the Atlantic Ocean side or the Gulf of Mexico side. They say it has to do with the fact that on certain missions, the trunk, which is the unpressurized bottom part that they jettison, the models that they used weren't exactly correct. The models said, yeah, it'll burn up. All the pieces will burn up. It'll be fine. Turns out they were wrong, and they didn't burn up. And as early as the first crew flight, Crew 1, they had already seen pieces of debris. And since then, on the previous one, they were talking 3 reported pieces of debris. So, like we were talking about of the concern of public safety and things not falling on your house, it kind of is. So their plan now is to move some of the assets over west. Jack, go ahead and brag.
I mean, I heard the shade that you were throwing on the flame trench. West Coast, best coast. We're getting Dragons back. So in your face. But yeah, Just read the instructions is the name of the recovery barge, of one of the recovery barges, and it's from the Culture series. It's a whole bunch of novels. They're science fiction. I haven't read any of them. I've been meaning to. I think it's even a show on Apple TV now. I'm not positive. Either way, it's a delightful little bit of whimsy. The other drone ships are, of course, I Still Love You and A Shortfall of Gravitas, all of which. So I guess in the Culture series of novels, the spacecraft in them are named, I think after like the AI in the ship or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, those are the names of the landing barges. Quite delightful.
Yep. And then in terms of the assets that will be going out, it will likely be Megan and Shannon, which are the capsule recovery vessels named after two of the female astronauts that have flown on Crew Dragon. And there are also the fairing recovery ships. On the East Coast, there is Bob, there is Doug, named after the crew of the Demo 1 flight, which was the first time astronauts flew from U.S. soil since the end of the shuttle program. There's their brand new fairing recovery ship, Go Cosmos, also, that is actually out supporting tonight's mission.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big fan of naming ships fun things. I hope starships get fun names. I'm so here for it. There's a book series that I'm reading right now called Expeditionary Force, and the ships in that are often named really funny things. There's one ship that's named "We don't want to brag about that thing you can't prove we did," or something. Like I'm here for it. I'm so here for it. Let's name all the things really funny names. And of course, like the first starship to land on the moon, we can name it like a cool name like Columbia or Endeavour or Discovery. Something with a historical significance. But also, let's name things funny names as well.
I mean, I like Endeavor, but
I'm
that's
here
just
for
'cause
it.
it's my favorite shuttle. Harry Stranger in chat is saying one of the exciting names that is Landing Platform Vessel 1.
Oh yeah, LPV-1.
Yeah, that is Blue Origin's landing ship, I believe. But I miss Mystery and Mischief, which
Yeah, those
it took,
were amazing.
it took me way too long to realize that like MS dot tree, TREE, was meant to be mystery, and
Right.
Mischief was meant to be mischief. It took me way too long.
It was always fun watching those boats return.
They
Such
look
a
so
wild,
ridiculous.
such a wild idea. I'm not sure what's crazier, recovering and reusing a fairing after it's been floating in salt water, or catching one with a net boat. But turns out the saltwater one won.
Go figure. Uh, let's see. Do want to thank some more support here as well. Captain Q saying it's my birthday. Well, 7:26 technically yesterday where I am. I'm guessing that would be New Zealand. Happy birthday. And thank you for joining us for your birthday. Hopefully we'll give you a candle in about 7 minutes, which we're glad you're chilling with us because at T-minus 7 minutes, you're not the only things that are chilling. That is also the Merlin 1D engines at the base of the rocket. D, why do we chill the engines?
Well, if you start flowing the cryogenic, uh, like liquid oxygen right at the start, you're going to have a rapid change in temperature, and that causes a lot of stress on the components. You have to get the lines cooled down ahead of starting them.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
thermal shock is no joke. You don't want to be doing that to your space flight hardware.
no, and the same thing is done prior to the Merlin vacuum ignition as well. But this obviously, since these 9 engines light first, they start with these.
Yeah, and if you've watched any of our Starship streams, like, oh, I don't know, the Ship 30 static fire on the Flame Trench earlier today, haha, uh, engine chill down happens on Raptor as well. It's a thing with rocket engines, and yeah, it's just another indicator that we are progressing through the count nominally.
Exactly. And then also just some more support before we get to the final 5 minutes of the count here. Booster 1058 saying, Sawyer, the shared brain cell is with my orange cat now. Jake can have it back in a minute, nearly not used. Thank you for that. And Eric Beavers with a $50 super chat. Holy smokes, thank you. Saying glad to see Falcon 9 back. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Eric. That's
Thank you.
incredibly generous.
Yes, we are very, very glad to have Falcon 9 back. And at this point, we hit the T-minus 5-minute mark. We should be coming up shortly on the strong back, getting ready to retract. We'll start by removing the clamps that are located underneath the payload fairings there, and then move back a whopping 1.8 degrees. YD?
Sorry, I was walking up to my camera at the moment. I'm keeping my headset on for this launch. Could you repeat that for me?
Oh, it's just saying, why do they only retract at 1.8 degrees?
Because it is able to move out of the way at the moment of liftoff. It will swing back away from the rocket once the rocket has ignited its engines.
Awesome. We will let you get ready to capture that moment of ignition, and we will talk to you after liftoff.
I'm going to keep my headset on here. I won't be able to really take too many questions, but I can engage in some chat as we go through launch.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Are you going to do the rocket blessing? Have you done it already?
I will actually do the rocket blessing. I need to adjust my exposure before liftoff also. I'll do that a little bit closer, but let me adjust my tripod's arm, and then I will do a rocket blessing.
I have a camera nerd question for you while you're doing that.
Okay.
Do you deliberately balance your camera, like your stream camera?
Like on the tripod, I just wear.
We'll ask that question after launch. How about that?
Yeah, we'll let you go. My bad.
In the meantime, though, yes, there is the blessing of the launch, which goes back to the old streams where you check the up, down, left, right, all the movement of the camera to make sure everything is loose and ready to track.
3 minutes to go.
There we go. And again, for those just joining, this is the Starlink 10-9 mission carrying 23 Starlink satellites, the first flight since a second stage anomaly occurred on the previous Starlink launch out of California. It has been 15 days, essentially, of turnaround time here, and B1069 gets the nod, launching from 39A, with the first stage expected to land on Just Read the Instructions, located about 600 kilometers to the northeast of the launch site. The fairings will also be recovered as well.
And I know we've said it a bunch of times, but it cannot be underscored enough how rapid this return to flight has been. It's simply fantastic.
Exactly. Coming up on 2 minutes now, we should have all the fuel loads being topped off. So we will know for sure that all of the fuel loading is complete. You'll see one final vent indicating everything's done on the second stage. It's very similar to the first T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent, which is done to purge the line. This is also done to purge the line of any remaining liquid oxygen or gaseous oxygen that may remain inside of it prior to liftoff. And there you can see that on the right side of the screen there. That is what that venting is. 90 seconds now. So the next thing that we will keep an ear out for will hopefully be Falcon 9 entering startup. That is when the onboard computers will take control of the count at T-minus 1 minute, as well as the pressurization of all of the tanks onboard Falcon 9 to flight pressures.
A little more adrenaline in my veins than your average late night Starlink right now, and for good reason.
Yeah, this is not your average Starlink as we get ready to see one of the quickest turnarounds between anomalies in spaceflight.
Under a minute, vehicle is controlling itself at this point.
There we go. Falcon 9 is in startup, is what we should be hearing momentarily. And then we should be getting the go for launch coming from the launch director shortly thereafter. Now coming up on about 30 seconds here, we have the go for launch from SpaceX's launch director. 30 seconds to go.
Fantastic.
And once again, we will quiet down a little bit so you can hear the beautiful rumble of the return to flight. once it lifts off and clears the tower.
Listen in for the VAB squeal.
Maybe not from 39A, but
Dang it.
we're 10 seconds away. About 5 seconds.
There's ignition.
We have ignition and liftoff. Starlink 10-9. After one anomaly, Falcon flies again, and it has cleared the tower.
Towers.
Maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Should also be going supersonic now, above the speed of sound. Speaking of sound, my goodness, the bass on that was unbelievable. Falcon 9 announcing quite loudly, "I'm back!"
I don't even want to talk. It sounded so amazing.
Yeah, but we do get to see the plume expansion on that first stage now. Gorgeous colors tonight, my goodness. Again, as the atmosphere gets thinner, the plume starts to expand outward more, and that's when you get these gorgeous views of it, and that blue trail as you get into the thinner parts of the atmosphere getting even more blue.
It truly is beautiful. In the words of, I think, Walter Cronkite, go baby go.
And now we are coming up on a couple of events that happen in quick succession. First one being MECO, main engine cutoff. That's when the 9 Merlin 1D engines will shut down. Followed shortly thereafter by first and second stage separation. And then SES1, which will be ignition of the second stage Merlin vacuum engine. And that is when we will all start holding our breaths. There we go. There's MECO. We have main engine cutoff. Next should be stage separation. And that appears to be the ignition of stage 2. The Merlin vacuum engine firing up.
Go Merlin Vac, go.
You can see a little bit of the puffs that were coming off there as well from that first stage as it gets ready to orient itself for a landing on just read the instructions downrange.
Were those the
should also be
fairings that we
having-
just saw for a second?
I was going to say, we should be having payload fairing separation any moment, so that probably was, because here it is on a slight delay from SpaceX's feed. There we go.
That shot will never get old. What an amazing shot.
Absolutely not. There was nothing flapping in front of any of the cameras, everything looking good. You could see the plume expansion with the help of a near full moon, just making that extra bright.
D's still got it. Way to go, D.
Thank you. This was gorgeous tonight, and I've got to say, feeling the rumble of yet another launch from the top of this building, absolutely fantastic. And I can see little dots from the fairings.
Nice.
Oh yeah, those are not stars.
You're talking and tracking at the same time. That's
I'm doing my best to keep a stable track as I talk to you.
good job.
Not too bad. We are also seeing some of the stars behind it there as well too. So, in case you're wondering, those aren't like 60 different fairing pieces. Now at T plus 4 minutes, the next major event will be coming up in just a few minutes from now, at about 6 minutes into flight, and that will be the first stage entry burn, where it fights fire with fire to slow itself down into the thicker parts, or into the thinner parts of the atmosphere before it encounters the thicker parts that will help finish slowing it down.
There's so many really cool parts about a Falcon 9 launch, but the fighting fire with fire is definitely got to be like top 3.
Absolutely. I know. We say fighting fire with fire. What exactly do we mean, though, by that, Jack?
Well, the Falcon 9 actually uses its own engine exhaust to sort of envelop the vehicle as it comes into the atmosphere and experiences that entry heating. And turns out, rocket exhaust is hot, but you know what's hotter? The plasma created from entering the Earth's atmosphere at that high of a velocity. So, uh, by using the rocket exhaust to surround the vehicle, you sort of have like a layer of insulation that's hot, but not as hot as you would experience if you didn't do that. So, supersonic retro propulsion, which is a really fun thing to say, is extremely useful for re-entering the atmosphere like that.
Is it wrong to say I've had a couple of women describe me that way, hot but not that hot?
Hey, do we have any more questions?
Now we're continuing to track the flight here. Again, about 15 seconds away from that first stage entry burn, using 3 of the Merlin 1D engines on board. Already well past its apogee, the highest point in that part of the orbit, now at 75 kilometers up.
With the clouds, I'm not so sure if I will be able to see the entry burn, but I am keeping my eyes towards the horizon and I will try to catch it if I can see it.
Well, there's the entry burn start.
Good luck, D. It's always a really tricky thing to catch, especially when you're continuing to track the second stage, because the first stage is in a completely different position in the sky, and you're usually way zoomed in at that point, so it's like looking through a straw, so it's a challenge. But I believe
Well,
in you.
I lost the second stage behind clouds, so I knew that it was going to be a challenge to try to find the first stage returning, and no luck here.
So it goes. Thanks for trying.
Well,
Of
there you go.
course.
So we try, but I mean, the track you got was absolutely phenomenal, so no worries. And you could start to see now little bit the grid fins there as we get into the thicker parts of the atmosphere after that burn. So the next up will be the landing burn that will fire one engine to hopefully slow itself down, deploy the landing legs, and land safely on the drone ship. Just read the instructions, which is now 10 kilometers off the deck. Meanwhile, the second stage continuing to burn on this first portion of flight for it. That will shut off about 15 or 20 seconds after the landing.
I
if
always
all
love
goes as
seeing
planned.
the second stage telemetry where it's just piling on the velocity. Meanwhile, the first stage telemetry where it's just scrubbing off the velocity. It's so fun to see.
Yep. So hopefully soon on the left side of your screen, things will be a lot more clear and a lot less dark. Once we see that engine ignition.
Any second now.
There it is. 2 kilometers off the deck. 1 kilometer now. Should see the drone ship momentarily.
Landing legs any second. There they go.
And touchdown. SpaceX continuing to make it look easy as B1069 now becomes 69-18.
Nice. That looked like a pretty dang good bullseye.
That really did.
And we had stable video all the way down.
Thanks, Starlink.
Right?
No,
It's-
but there you could see.
It's helping to give itself better video quality on landing as it launches more Starlinks. It's like a snake eating its own tail in the best way.
And that looks like Merlin vacuum shutdown, which that little bit of ice is totally normal and expected. That's okay.
Yeah, and if you saw a little bit of flamey, I guess flames from the Merlins of the landed booster, that is expected and completely normal. Don't stress about that.
It does appear to be some things that might be smoking though at 39A there.
Yeah, sometimes they do those the burn off of the T-tab or like the purging of the T-tab lines. I'm not quite.
Right.
D, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so seeing the small flames at 39A is where we definitely see that the best for a T-tab burn off. It's pretty normal. I mean, we've even seen that sort of thing when we are at the pad picking up remotes at times. So
Oh wow.
it's nothing to worry about. That is for sure.
And if you don't know, which I completely forgive you if you don't, it's pretty obscure. TTAB is triethyl aluminum and triethyl borane, and they, when combined, ignite. I think, is that pyrophoric? I don't know. I'm not a chemist. But yeah, triethyl aluminum, triethyl borane, that is the fluid that is used to ignite the Merlin engines.
Right, that's that green flash that you see. I
Right.
am interested, though, of what's pouring out of the transporter erector at the moment.
Huh.
Don't typically see that from the launches I've seen, at least.
Yeah, I wonder if the TE took a little bit of pummeling there, or maybe they're just purging some lines. That's interesting either way.
That could be as well. It's trying to be hip with the kids and show off its drip.
I'm not even gonna.
I did, and I regret it. But yeah, that looked good from the numbers that we were able to see there. And Alex sharing some fun facts about this one. It was officially 15 days, 3 hours, and 10 minutes between the previous flight, which encountered the anomaly, and the flight today. And that was the longest time between SpaceX launches since June of 2022. That is unbelievable that it has not been. It's been 2 years since there's been a delay between launches of 15 days.
Yeah, I mean, once again, as we have talked about multiple times on this stream, it just goes to show how much SpaceX has changed the paradigm of what we expect in spaceflight.
It really has. It's just, yeah. And so we can now officially say, with the numbers here, that is the 88th landing on Just Read the Instructions out of 89 attempts. The 257th successful landing since that previous failure, and the first Falcon 9 launch since its previous failure, now under its belt, and 354th orbital flight. I love the numbers.
Indeed.
As much as I hate math, I'm not talking like Trevor level math. Those numbers are cool. Stats. So,
Indeed. It's a good thing you're not talking Trevor level math because I wouldn't understand a word of it.
right,
Same.
just like us talking pop culture to him.
D, have you met Trevor yet?
I have. I sure have. When I was out in Starbase for Flight 4.
Nice.
There we go. I do want to thank some support that came in during the launch here. Not Heisenberg with a $20 super chat saying, "Thank you for what you do. Godspeed, Falcon 9. Let's go."
Yeah, let's go. Let's build up that launch streak again. Landing streak, untouched. Launch streak, let's go. There's work to be done. Let's send a whole bunch of stuff to space.
Absolutely. I mean, like we talked about, there's another launch that hopefully you'll join us for as well tomorrow. The launch window for that, Starlink 10-4 from Pad 40, opens at 12:13 a.m. Eastern, also approximately 4-hour window. And then also on July 28th, 3 hours after that, so 3:24 a.m. Eastern, which would be 12:24 a.m. Pacific, is Starlink 9-4 out of Vandenberg. So, can't get enough. After it's gone, you want more. And then TFA Sol, thank you for becoming a Red Team member as well.
Important distinction. TTAB is not two liquids. Thank you, Sam. I think Sam Cox in chat. TTAB is not two liquids. It's a single liquid. It ignites spontaneously on contact with oxygen, making it pyrophoric. Thank you.
Awesome. That's part of why we love the audience here and you guys with us chatting. Always catching us for those and helping us out when, sometimes there's things that even we question of what we know.
Yeah, I mostly just wanted to say triethylborane because it sounds really cool. So thanks for the update.
Fine, I'll be triethyl aluminum, you be triethyl borane.
Do we have to ignite spontaneously on contact with the air, though?
We make sparks, that's why.
No, we make fire content.
Oh, there you go. Like the shuttle video.
There you go.
But yeah, so again, we will be broadcasting the launch tomorrow from Florida as well. Not out from the worst coast. No one cares about that, right? No
I care
objections,
about it.
Jack.
I care about it. Sorry, I was reading chat. Moldy Space says T-Teb is a single liquid with two components, much like how my lemonade is half water, half sugar.
Only half sugar? You must not be in America. Here, lemonade is sugar with a hint of lemon.
Right.
But yeah, it appears as if the leak of whatever that is continuing on the transporter erector at the moment.
That's not too abnormal to see that, though. I'm not familiar with the specifics, but seeing that from the transporter erector, I mean, we see that relatively often.
I
Yeah,
wonder
it's
if
not
maybe
every
it's something that normally happens later when we're not paying super close attention. But SpaceX has a lot of launches to get back doing, so maybe they're just doing this right off the bat, or, I don't know. Interesting
Also,
though, D, that this is not completely abnormal.
also the fact that we, excuse me. Also the fact that most of the launches lately are from Pad 40. This one is 39A, which hasn't gotten as much use. The last time this thing launched, it was a Falcon Heavy configuration. Then they modified it to go back to Falcon 9 with a fairing. Then they'll set it up for Falcon 9 with capsule, hopefully next, for Crew 9, which is currently scheduled for middle of August. Followed after that by Polaris Dawn, and then followed after that by a Europa Clipper on Falcon Heavy again.
Oh my
Whereas,
God, Clippy! I'm so excited for Clippy.
whereas at Pad 40, they're pretty much all fairing configurations right now. So you've got Starlink 10-4, 10-6. I believe you also have Cygnus NG-21, which is also supposed to come up this week.
A lot of launches to get done.
Oh, yeah. But now that we have returned to flight, stay tuned, because we got to return to the return to flight with some replays. So we're working on getting those pulled for you. And yeah, our Cape team is going to be quite busy this week. So D, apologies in advance.
Yeah, it is gonna be a non-stop week, but it is exciting to get some launches coming up, and not just SpaceX coming up. We also have a ULA launch coming up, so it's quite exciting.
That is true. There is a Space Force launch aboard an Atlas V currently scheduled for the 31st of this month. So there's no shortage. That or 30th, excuse me. That is Tuesday, July 30th. The window opens at 6:45 a.m. Eastern Time. So maybe sunrise jelly?
I absolutely love the morning time launches, and Atlas especially is a gorgeous rocket. So I forget the exact time that you said, and my computer is not loading, but I think
45.
what time was that?
6:45 a.m. is the current T0 for Atlas.
So that'll probably be a bit late for a, a jellyfish, but that's going to be some gorgeous light.
Maybe some of those noctilescent clouds. Oh, yeah. I
Fingers
love
crossed.
just after sunrise and just before sunset are some of the more difficult launches to photograph because the light is constantly changing. But if you hit that sweet spot, my goodness, it
Yeah,
is
can we get
greatest shots.
a Starship launch not right at the crack of dawn? Because holy cow, that's challenging.
Also, fog, which I know you're just bringing with you from Vandenberg.
Stop.
All right, fine. I'll stop. What we can do instead is watch D's slow-mo replay of the launch. Here we
I'd
go.
like to
Take it
point
nice
out that
and slow.
D cut this in the time since launch because obviously D is fast. I just want to point that out. Good job,
While
D.
answering questions.
Thank you. I'm not too happy with my slow-mo this launch. The clouds made it a bit more difficult, but always happy to share what I can. And there is, in particular, the shot of Falcon 9 breaking the clouds that I think is pretty cool.
Oh,
Nice.
look at that. Absolutely beautiful.
The shock waves.
Oh, the shockwave through the cloud.
That's gorgeous.
Amazing capture, D. And thank you for joining on commentary and providing these views.
Of course, always happy to be here.
And the Jack Attack is back. Thank you for joining us for the return to flight.
Absolutely. I've got some Starship version 2 forward dome pictures to edit, so thank you all for watching. I'm going to go do that.
Hey, I've got an idea. How about we
What?
do this again tomorrow, Jack?
Sure.
Sweet. Cool.
I'll be here.
We're going to have the gang back together again tomorrow as
Let's
we
go.
get ready for the next Starlink launch, 10-4
Wait.
from Pad 40.
So if Adrian, Alex, and I are the Chaos crew, what are us three?
Jack, I think
Not your
whenever
ordinary
we're
crew.
together, it's another chaos crew. So
Chaos Crew 2, Electric Boogaloo?
It could also be not your ordinary
yes.
crew. It's not your ordinary Starlink. No. Thank you to
No,
Jay.
sorry.
Thank you to Jay Hegan in the background for pushing the buttons, pulling the levers. Oh, the fail is real on tonight. But again, thankfully, Falcon succeeding. I've been your host, Sawyer Rosenstein. Appreciate everyone who joined, all of the support, and also shout out to Ryan Weber, who joined us at the beginning of the stream as well, for some input and commentary too. We'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and keep an eye on all of our social media channels. We've got X/Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, and we will get some of these replays that you might not have been able to see besides D's up on those. So keep an eye out so you can see more views of the launch. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you all again tomorrow.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Probably not. Roger, planet.
Tango down to nominal.
Flight outside FTE off. Say again, FTE off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane to be igniting in the flare, correct?